But unlike her horrible, abusive excuse of an horrible stepfather and a biological father, the wizard, who I will talk about after this piece of garbage, her relationship with Fiyero basically broke the cycle of abuse, manipulation, and cruelty that was always installed onto this poor girl. And I have to say it, but at least Elphaba did not mourn him at all, because I'm glad she did not mourn her stepfather. Like, why would she mourn the person who spent his own life abusing and hating her while her younger sister is just literally oblivious to the fact that their father hated Elphaba because of her and her own birth, which led to the untimely death of their mother, and Nessa being born with the inability to walk, having to always be on a wheelchair with Elphaba following his orders like she is a servant to the family to protect her and look after her, because this family really is the literal worst. Following her stepfather, the Sliver medalist of Most Wicked goes to the man behind the curtain, and Elphaba's own biological father, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, who, alongside another character who is even worse than him, is basically Gabriel Agresti from Miraculous Ladybug. But if he was not an horrible and abusive father to Adrien for once, the wizard is one of the only characters besides Madame Morrible and Glinda, and yes, I have to include her too since they were rivals before they became friends, and she'd got poor Elphaba humiliated at the Ozdas Ballroom as in prank to do so, but that was before they became friends. And after they became friends and unpopular, she basically wants to change everything about Elphaba, like her clothes and personality, and does not manipulate people out of malice, who manipulated people for their own reasons and goals. In his case, he manipulated the entirety of Oz into believing that he is a great and wonderful person, who will help Elphaba achieve her goals for acceptance and validation for love and to be accepted. But when Elphaba discovered that he was a fraud with no power at all after getting broomed, I was meant to say groomed. I have to say broom to cover that, but I know that grooming is a very bad and disgusting thing to do. But I do not use that term real lightly. By Madame Morrible, he has some remorse since he is basically not that evil than the other person that is literally more evil than him, but that alongside being manipulated by Madame Morrible does not truly excuse all of his actions of marginalizing the animals and preventing them from speaking out against his authority while locking them all up in cages, making them do slave labor, making them build the Yellow Brick Road. And some animals are now just leaving Oz because of him and is a tyrant to Oz, and like I said, he did had remorse for what he did to Elphaba, making her a literal fugitive, realizing that he was her biological father after he realized that he killed his own daughter and he was broken by his own actions. I mean, he did want a real family, but his own daughter hates his guts after what he did to her, so he finally got exiled from Oz by Glinda, and finally the gold medal for Most Wicked goes to the Dean of Sorcery in Shiz University and the real Wicked Witch herself. And I do mean that more literally, Madame Muriel Morrible. Yeah, you all knew it was coming from seeing the thumbnail. I hated this character whenever this old hag is on screen in both movies, being manipulative towards everyone around her with no remorse for her actions. But Michelle Yeoh does a great job with making her more evil. I could give her that. Like, she literally is the most wicked and vile character in these two movies in general, and was responsible for literally everything, like manipulating and grooming poor Elphaba into supporting the wizard for her own selfish desires, and used the poor girl for her powers and used her for her own selfish personal gain, and did not care about her at all. Was responsible for spreading propaganda on the animals and branding Elphaba as the Wicked Witch of the West, as a fugitive turning everyone but Fiyero and Glinda, who is more willing to support this even though she has good intentions, against her, creating false rumors and false propaganda about her, viewing her as wicked with zero remorse or guilt at all, manipulated both the wizard and Glinda into doing what she wants them to do, following their roles as the leader of Oz and as the Good Witch, and as the spokesperson for the Wizard of Oz respectively, to help her keep her control of Oz. But let's all also not forget about what she did right after Glinda told her and the wizard to use her sister to lure Elphaba out of hiding after getting her own heart broken by the choice that her own fiancé, Fiyero, just made to leave with her best friend. She literally killed Nessarose by creating the cyclone, the same tornado that brought Dorothy to Oz in The Wizard of Oz, crushing Nessa to death with the cyclone. Like, this woman is literally a psychopath who would do anything to kill her own former student and her own pupil, manipulates everyone into doing whatever she wants, like Elphaba, Glinda, and Holy Christ. She even manipulated the wizard like she has power over him. like they are her puppets and her own tools to achieve her own goals, but that is until one of them that she spent the entirety of the second movie manipulating and grooming like she did. With Elphaba in the last movie, Glinda, who turns the only weapon that Madame Horrible always has to use on Elphaba against her. The public's devotion against her and stripped her of her authority and status to be locked up for her crimes against the animals and branding Elphaba as the Wicked Witch after everything she did to her, to Oz and, more importantly, to Elphaba and thank Oz. Finally, she got her just desserts and good riddance to you, you cold-hearted, opportunistic, manipulative old human supremacist. She is just worse than Gabrielle Agresti, and even worse than Lila Rossi of all people in terms of moral bankruptcy, and when it came to being a pure evil villain because she's literally the real Wicked Witch, not Elphaba.